Hey, what's going on, everybody? FAQ&A Thursdays. What is happening? What is happening? Hopefully you guys are doing well today. We're going to get into some great stuff today. We're talking about a lot of different topics. I'm just going to double check and make sure we're online, which it looks good. I'm just going to adjust this here so I can read your comments. Okay, perfect. So hopefully you guys are doing well. We're going to be covering, like I said, a lot of stuff today. So for FAQ&A, for those of you who are brand new to this, what we do is every single Thursday at 9:45 is I jump on here and I talk about a certain topic within Dubsado. Each week it's different. We'll cover different areas and different features within Dubsado. But this week, what I want to talk about is projects, clients, statuses, tags, leads, jobs. On the one-on-one calls that we've had this week, there have been a lot of questions about it and how it works and how does the whole situation flow into Dubsado. What's a lead? What's a job? What's a project? What's a client? So what I wanted to do today is really break down the entire flow and how it all works together, so you kind of learn the Dubsado language and you learn how you can incorporate that into your business. So when you're adding people, when people are coming in, you know exactly where they should go, what should happen, and how it should all function. What's up, Kristen? How you doing? Hopefully you're having an amazing Thursday. Awesome. So we're going to jump in and get right to it here because we do have a lot to cover. But before I jump in, I just wanted to make note, if you guys do want to set up a free 20-minute session, we also have 45-minute sessions that are paid. But if you guys do want to set up a one-on-one session with either me or my colleague Sam, we're part of the account solutions team, and so we like to sit down and go over a certain area that you have questions about, or if you have questions about your process, streamlining things, whether it's workflows or how any area of the system, we can sit down and kind of go over your process and help educate you on how it works in the system. To do that, you can just go to this link right here, dubsado.com/getting-started, and then we can sit down for 20 minutes and kind of cover the questions that you have as far as how does this work with my process? I want to set up a workflow, not sure where to start, different things like that, and we can help you out there. So let me get rid of that here, and then I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. Perfect. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about projects, we're going to be talking about statuses, tags, leads, jobs, clients, all of that good stuff. But the first thing I want to do is start more at a macro level and really go over what each thing is and how you can think about it depending on what type of business you have. So with Dubsado, typically, you really only have two types of business. Obviously, there's different industries, but there's really only two types of business. It's either client-based or it's project-based or like design-based. It's an actual project you're working on, like web design, stationery, things like that. But really, it just boils down to those two topics on a macro level. I know there's a lot of sub-levels and different things, but with Dubsado, in Dubsado language, you kind of just have to differentiate whether you're client-based or whether you're project-based. And that just kind of depends on what it is and what type of services you offer and things like that. But you should be able to kind of identify which one you fit more into, whether you're more design, project-based, or whether you're more, I'm just communicating with clients and working with them. So once you have that decided and you kind of know which lane you fit into, this will help with how we're kind of moving forward with this. So two types of business, client-based, project-based, and you can determine that. The next thing is to talk about what a client is and what a project is in Dubsado. So a client is going to be the main point of contact that you're communicating with during the time or during the interaction that you're working with this person. So if you're a photographer, it's the person that you're shooting. If you do wedding stuff, it's most likely going to be the bride or whoever's the person who's most engaged with getting all the planning set up. So you can think about a client as the person who you're going to be talking to the most during the course of your communications, your interactions. So that's what a client is in Dubsado. The project, plain and simple, is just the communication hub where you're going to be sending out your forms, your emails, your workflows are going to be in there, your tasks. Everything that you're doing communication-wise with the client is going to be housed in the project. So that's how you can kind of tap into how we have it set up in the system, is The client is just who you're communicating with. And then the project is how you're going to communicate with that client. It's through the project that you're going to have your workflows running, your emails getting sent, making invoices for people, sending out contracts. All of that is going to take place within the project. And so I'll take a break here and jump back over to the projects page. And this is going to be where you're going to manage all of your clients or manage all of your projects. Small disclaimer before I jump in here. If you are in the realm of coaching, if you're in the realm of like group training, anything where it's really, really client-based, it's one-on-one with the client, if you do consulting, anything like that, you can think about it on this level that the project and the client are the exact same thing. So when you're seeing the projects page here, this is where you manage your clients. So you can think about it on that level. Hopefully that makes sense. But this is just going to be where you manage your clients, and the projects area is just, or the actual project is just how you're going to communicate with that client. So for example, if I jump over here, this is one of the projects that I have. Let's say this is a one-on-one coaching session that I'm doing. This is just who my client is. And when I go into this project, that's where I can send them emails, invoices, forms. I can do all of my actual work with that client, house homework in there, and do all of that good stuff. So that's kind of how you can think about projects and clients. Is clients are just the main person you're talking to. Projects is how you're going to communicate with that client. So this one I have here, for example, I made myself as a client, and then the title is website maintenance. So a lot of people are wondering what project titles should be. Project titles should just plain and simple be what you're doing for that client. Whether it's a specific one-on-one training session that you're doing, you could put like three-month coaching in there. If you're doing a website maintenance or web design or whatever you're going to be doing, social media marketing, whatever you are doing for that client is normally what the project title is going to be. Now, you can obviously add other things to it. It doesn't just have to be that. You can add dates and you can put names in there and just however you want to spice it up. But at a base level, that's normally what people are going to title their projects, is whatever it is that you're doing for the client. So you can think about it in that lane. So once we have that, let me go back to my little form thing that I made here. It's kind of like an outline. My mom's a teacher, so creating outlines and doing all of this is just kind of second nature to me. So once we have this here, now you have clients and you have projects, and we kind of just covered that. So the next portion that I want to cover is clients/projects. If you just consider them kind of the same thing because they go together, they can be set at a certain status. And so now I'll explain leads and jobs and how all that ties into it. So let's say you have a new client that comes in, a new person that's wanting to know about your services. That person at any point in time, if I jump back to the projects page, can be underneath a certain status at any point in time. So if I go back to that person here, you can change what their status is. And in the projects area, statuses are broken down between two major umbrella ideas, which is leads and jobs, as you can see across the top here. At any point in time, the person that you're working with can either be considered a lead or you can move them over to a job. And that's the whole goal with any business, is to move someone from a lead, someone who is just inquiring about your services. They haven't paid anything yet. They haven't signed any contracts. They're just wanting to know more info. You'll want them in the leads area. The goal is to move them into the jobs area. So what you want them to do is either sign a contract with you, you want them to pay a deposit or pay in full, whatever your business deems as this means that they're booked with me. And it could be a whole lot of different things. You kind of determine that as a business owner. But the whole goal, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what type of business you have, is to have someone come into the system. They want to know more about your services. You send them the correct info and pitch your pricing to them and tell them what you're going to do for them and send them all the right information. And then they book with you, and then they become a job. So when you're thinking about the projects page from a macro level, the whole goal is to have someone come in as a lead and then move them into the jobs area. And we'll talk about all these different statuses here coming up. and how that can give you more detail. But I wanted to start kind of from a macro level so you understand what you're doing when you come to this page. So now that we're here, now I want to talk about the lead capture form and how that ties into here. So we had a lot of questions on, I want to either get people from my website to come into Dubsado, or how do I get people to automatically come into the system? If I go to my forms page, and some of this might be beginner stuff for you, but we have a lot of questions on it, so I want to make sure we cover it. The lead capture form on the right-hand side there, this is the form that gets people into the system, and I did an entire FAQ&A last week on lead captures and all the different ways to use them, so I won't go into too much detail. But this is the form that is going to get people from your website, which you can share using the embed code up here in the top right. You can grab the embed code there. But once someone fills out this form, they will automatically get put in the project section. They'll get set up with a brand new project, a brand new communication hub where you can start communicating with them, and they'll be set up as a brand new client or a new contact that you have in your projects area. So let's say that someone fills this out, they fill in their basic contact information, just what I need to get them started and get them in the system. They automatically get deposited into the projects area here as a new lead. So now once they're a lead, because that's their status right now, my goal is to take them from being a lead and get them to become a booked job. To do that, I need to send them the right forms. I need to send them the emails and all of the stuff that you would normally send a lead. Maybe I need to call them and send them my scheduler templates. Whatever you need to do with your process, and that's why process is really important, because it'll really help with the different statuses that you have across the top. So once they fill out that lead capture form, they get brought into the leads area in Dubsado. Now, one thing that I like to do, and this kind of is a good segue into statuses, is I like to create a status that's for a place for lead captures to get dropped into when they fill it out. So we'll begin talking about these statuses here. Now, for some of you, you might only have like all, maybe on your jobs area, you have all and current and past. With these statuses across the top here, and let me go back to my form so you guys can take more notes here. When it comes to statuses, and we kind of talked about the overall goal, the goal is to move a project/client, to move them from a lead status into a job status. So project and client statuses, what are they? And those are the boxes that are across the top up there. What are those used for, or what am I supposed to use those for? Those are specifically designed to show where your client is at in your process of them becoming a lead and moving through that progression into becoming a job. That's what those statuses or funnels across the top there are designed for, is so when you come into this page, you can see all the different steps that you take with a client in order to get them into this booked job area over here. So you want to create statuses across the top that are milestones, important milestones that you need to get them or send them, or different things that you do throughout your lead process in order to get them to become a booked job. So I'll kind of cover the ones that I've done here to give you some examples, but this is really going to relate to your business. So you kind of have to use some creativity to think about, what's my process? What milestones do I need to make sure that they hit in order to get them to become a booked job? Normally that's a contract being sent out or signed. Normally that's an invoice getting sent out, different things like that. But with these statuses, so I have one that's called lead capture completed. That's my first step. Then I send out a proposal to them. So I want to know how many people I've sent a proposal out to. Then I have a follow-up questionnaire that needs to get sent out. So I want to make sure that that's a milestone that they need to cover. I want to make sure that the consultation that we set up with them is a milestone that needs to get covered in my lead process. I'm waiting on a deposit from them. I've sent out the contract for them. Once they move past that and it's signed, now I want them to eventually become a job. So if you're kind of thinking about this, you can see it's really every single milestone that you take with a client in order to get them to become a job. So you can start writing out different ideas for statuses based off of, where do I need to have these clients move through, or what what milestones are important for me to check off and mark through that they got through these certain steps or these statuses. Now to create these, you'll do this underneath the customize option over here on the right hand side. And like I said, these are completely designed to enhance your business process. So if you're not sure what your process is, start with that. Instead of making all of your different statuses, go back first and write out how you want someone to move from a lead to a job. What forms need to get sent out? Do I send a contract here and then I go to an invoice? Do I need to send out a proposal? You have to get your process down first in order for these project statuses to really flow and make sense, because it is going to tie into your workflow. So with these here, as you can see, I've kind of created my whole flow of how I want to move them, and you can do that by clicking Add Status at the top, and then you can make your different funnel choices. So is this a lead status? Is this a job status? You can kind of create them from there, and you can also reorganize them based off of, consultation booked. I want that before here, so you can reorganize them. So once you have that there, another quick pro tip, people are always asking, how can I have it go to just one funnel and say, this is the funnel I always want to see when I come to my projects page? That's what these check boxes are here for. So right now I have lead capture completed as my status that I always want it to go to. So when I go to the projects page, it will always default to this specific status. So once you have your statuses created, you can think to yourself, sometimes most of the time people are going to want like current jobs to be the one that automatically pulls up. So if you have a current job status, you can check that checkbox, and then that will be the one that it defaults to every single time you come to that page. So you're developing your process, you're developing how you want to move someone from a lead to a job, and that's really what your statuses are. There are some people that have the different types of clients that you have as your statuses. You can use that, but you can use tags for that instead. And the reason why you don't want someone to have, or you don't want your statuses to be the different categories of clients that you have, is because with the workflow, which we'll cover here in just a little bit, the workflow is designed to mirror what your status is. This really should be what your workflow is across the top. Just on a macro level, whatever steps you're taking with your client, sending a proposal, sending a follow-up questionnaire, sending out my scheduler template so they can book with me. Once that consultation's booked, I'm sending them out the invoice, so I'm waiting on the deposit. Your workflow and the actual things you're sending out to your clients should mirror exactly what you're doing in your statuses, so that way you don't have to second guess on where's my client at in their workflow process, or where are they going through the different levels. The workflow can run through the different actions and then move them automatically. And like I said, we'll cover that in a second on how to do that. So the other thing that I've noticed when people have their lead statuses set up just like this, and it's their process, what it allows you to do is when you come to this projects page, there could be a bottleneck that you have in your process that you're not aware of. For example, if you come in here and there are 30 people in proposal sent and they're not moving past your proposal, you might have a thing in your proposal that you need to tweak around so it's easier for your client to move through. This is a really good way of looking at your process and seeing where people move through the quickest. And maybe there's a bottleneck that you have where people are always getting caught up on this part. And this helps you allow to see the numbers on it. So if I log in here and there are 40 people that are still waiting to fill out this follow-up questionnaire, I can go back to my questionnaire and say, what is causing people that I have 40 people in here that are not filling out this questionnaire? What's causing that? And it allows you to kind of see where those bottlenecks are. So by doing this here, this really gives you a good idea of where your process is at, how quickly people are moving through things, and eventually, like I said, getting them over into that jobs category. So that's kind of on a macro level to kind of think about what's my process and what statuses or milestones are most important in order to get them over to this job area. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the tags. So if you are using these funnels to break down, like these are my web design clients, and you're using the statuses for those. These are my logo people that I'm working with. Or if you're a photographer, these are my wedding clients. These are my portrait clients. You don't want to use the statuses for those because the workflow can't really detect that and move them into different categories based off of actions that have been completed. That's what job tags are for. So the next thing we'll talk about is tags. Underneath customize, and if we scroll down to the bottom down here, this is where you can create your categories that you want to tag your clients in. So the groups or categories that you want to lump people into to be able to pull them up really quickly. So one thing that I always mention when it comes to tags is it's kind of an overall question. How do I want to search for clients the quickest? I want to search for these type of clients the fastest. That's what your tags are. And it can be anything. So when it comes to project statuses and tags, there is a level of creativity that you have to think about. What does my business model look like? Because everyone's tags and everyone's statuses are going to be completely different. Everyone's going to have their own ones that are more important to their business that they need to see. It all depends on the forms you send, the emails you send, the types of clients that you have. But for example, I have this as if I'm a photographer, let's say, I have sporting events, portraits, family, newborn, paid, local, out of state. Maybe they're recurring. Anything that you can think about and say, I always need to find these types of clients the fastest, make it a tag. And you can tag those projects, and then I'll show you here how that ties in. So if I go back to my projects, and I'm just going to go to one of my people here, and this is website maintenance. So let's just say I had a website maintenance tag and I wanted to be able to see everyone that I wanted to do website maintenance with. It kind of works the same way, but for this case, if I go to this project and here's the tags area, I can now tag this client or this project, however you want to phrase it, but it's really the same thing. But I want to tag this client with a certain tag, like this is a family session that I'm doing. You can also do more than one. So if I want it to be, these are my family people, and this is also a local family person, maybe you really need to know who all your local people are, and that's really important for you. Really think about how I want to be able to search for clients the fastest. So now that I know that this person is a family session and they're local, if I go back to my projects area, the reason tags are so effective is because with our filter option right here, you can search by tags. So if I click on family, it's going to bring up everybody. Well, right now I'm in this funnel, but if I go to all, it will bring up all of my family people that are leads that have that tag on them. Now, if I wanted to do who are all of my family people who are also local, it will bring up a list of all of those people. So you can put multiple tags on all of your projects, however you want to categorize them, that's really, really going to help you find those people. Jessica, I thank you so much. I'm still in mourning. I was going to wear black for the entire week, but I decided that was a little overboard, but it definitely hurt. It was deep. For those of you who don't know and can't tell, I'm a massive Chiefs fan, and we took a really hard loss on Sunday. Don't want to talk about it. Back to action here. So, but once you have your tags there, that's going to give you the best ability to go in and search for those clients the fastest. So don't use your statuses up here to break people down into different categories. Use the tags for that, because then you can search for them really quickly, and multiple tags in the filter. And the best part about that is with our export option, you can export a list of everyone who fits that category. Whoever's on this list, when you click export, it exports those people out on a CSV. And that will help you do it by multiple groups. So once you have that, to kind of recap that last section, statuses, and actually let me go back to the form so you guys can actually see it for note-taking purposes. Project client statuses are where the client is at in your process, from them going from a lead to a job. Tags is what group or category does that client fit in, or how do I want to search for this group of people really quickly. And that will give you some great ideas for what tags do I want, what statuses do I want. Now, to tie all of this together and to kind of bring it all into kind of one smooth process so you can understand how all this works. And we're going to start with the lead capture. The lead capture form, and I mentioned this last week with FAQ&A, the lead capture form is the only form that we have that can start a workflow from having it be filled out. And you can do that from either in the settings menu, applying a default workflow, or you can ask a question and have an answer based with the workflow element, where it's what service are you interested in? And based off of what service they're interested in, a particular workflow can take off. Now, if we have it set up this way, where whether I'm interested in portraits, or I'm interested in weddings, or I'm more interested in newborn, now tags can come into play with these workflows. We want to tag them immediately. If they're interested in portraits, we don't want to have to go into the projects page and then add a portraits tag. That's too time consuming. We want the workflow to do that. So if you kind of think about this model here of portraits, wedding, what type of service they're interested in, and if these are your tags, on the workflow level, if we go there, and let me find what I'm looking for here. I have 1,001 different workflows. Here's a perfect example. If they select newborn on that lead capture form and a newborn workflow takes off, the very first thing I want to do is tag them as being a newborn. I don't want to have to go in to my projects page for every single person who inquires, figure out what they're interested in, and go in and tag them. It's way too time consuming, and the workflow can do it for you automatically. So the very first thing I have it doing as soon as they click newborn is I have that newborn tag getting added right away. So that way when I come to my projects page, I already know that they're set up with the right tag because that workflow started and tagged them already. So that's where tags come into play as far as workflows go. Anytime that you want to tag somebody, you can do add action and then add another tag. So that's how it kind of works there. So that's tags. Now statuses. Let me go to a different workflow that I have here that will make sense of statuses. So if you remember, and actually let me go back to my lead capture form. Underneath the lead capture form in the settings menu, you can determine what project status it will get dropped into as soon as someone fills this out. So anytime that someone fills out this lead capture form, I want them to get dropped into basically the beginning of my lead process. So here, now I can go through and determine, because I have my statuses created already, anytime that someone fills out this lead capture, what status do I want them to get dropped into? And in my case, I have a lead capture completed status. So I'm going to choose that. So what that means, if I save that, anyone who fills that out, they're automatically going to get dropped in as a new lead, and they're going to go at the beginning of my process. They're going to get dropped in there, and we're going to start to move our way from left to right. So once we have that in there, now my workflow is going to start. Whatever workflow I have set up is going to start with that project now. It's going to start rolling, start adding tags and sending emails and however your workflow works. So if I go back to my workflow, and we'll take a look at it here, the very first thing that I have happening is I want to send out my proposal to the client right away. So they get added, they're dropped into that lead capture completed status, and my proposal goes out. Once that proposal goes out, the very next thing I have it doing is changing a project status right away, and I have it changing to proposal sent. Because the workflow is going to do all the work for you. It's going to send out that proposal, and all of a sudden it's going to be followed up by change project status to proposal sent. Or you could do like a proposal completed. Once they complete their proposal, move them into the next status. It all depends on what your statuses are, because that can completely change around your workflow. Yes, it will be on here later, so you'll be able to come back and watch it. You can also search in the FAQ&A community and just type in, or in the Dubsado community, in the search bar, just type in FAQ&A and it'll be up there. And then I also upload all of these to our YouTube channel, so you can also view those there anytime as well. So yeah, absolutely come back and watch this later. So once you have your proposal being sent out, it can move into the next status change. Then, for example, I have, here's another one. Once I send out my primary invoice, or once I send out my invoice to the client, I want to move them into a new status once they've paid, and the status is going to be invoice paid in full. So if you can think about project statuses, they're always going to come after an action happens. And that's how you're going to start stacking your project statuses. You can have as many as you want to in your process. You can have 100 or you could have 3, whatever is most important that you want to track on your projects page. So a great example would be send contract out to client as my first action, and then move them into contract sent. And then the workflow will automatically shift them. So as you can see, your workflow and your statuses should literally be the exact same thing. And these should just be the major milestones in your workflow. So if you have questions about statuses, or if you have questions about how to set these up or what your process is and getting all that mapped out, you can book a one-on-one with us and we can sit down and kind of walk through the things that you need to send out, what good ideas for statuses would be or good ideas for tags would be, and how that comes into the lead capture form. Let me do this here. I'm going to pull this up because I'm all finished. But with all of these, hopefully that kind of makes sense about what projects are, what clients are, how to move them through the different statuses. They can be leads, they can be jobs. I don't know why this is not blowing up. There we go. So you can have leads, you can have jobs, but the whole goal is to move them from leads into jobs and use those statuses as markers in order to get them into that jobs section, and then use your tags just to categorize everybody. So at any point in time, if you go to that filter option, you can say, I need to see all of my, wedding people who are out of state. However you would want to create your different tags. I've seen people who make tags. Oh, and a quick disclaimer, clients cannot see tags. So feel free to write whatever you want for tags. They're not able to see those. I've seen people who have tags that say that these clients are very hard to work with. So if they want to look up all the clients that are a pain to work with, you can have that tag on there and it's completely fine. But however you want to categorize people, because you search for these clients all the time, make those as tags and it will help out so much. So hopefully that helps out for you guys, that you guys understand how the Dubsado lingo flows and how that process works. Like I said, if you want to book a call with us, here's the link down here in the bottom left-hand corner. Book a call with us. With this link, you'll either get me or you'll get Sam, and we're both amazing. Sam's awesome. She's great. She knows exactly what she's doing. In some cases, I feel like she has more knowledge than I do sometimes, which is awesome. Book a call with us. We'll go over your process, go over your workflows or your statuses, what you think would work, or we can kind of brainstorm from there. But other than that, have a great rest of the week. If you have questions, you can go ahead and comment them in there and I'll get back and answer those. Or if you want to see anything on FAQ&A, if there's any certain topics that you want me to cover in the upcoming weeks, go ahead and paste those in there, and then I'll try to draft an outline and really develop a FAQ&A around that topic. And then the last thing before I jump off of here is next week? Whenever February starts, the first Thursday in February, or the first Wednesday, in February, I'm going to be starting Workflow Wednesdays. And that is going to be where every single Wednesday it's going to function just like FAQ&A. Those aren't going away. But every single Wednesday I'm going to come on here at the same time, 9:45 a.m., and cover a certain topic in workflows. Since it's the biggest part of Dubsado and it's kind of the biggest thing to wrap your mind around in our system, I want to do a specific day of the week just to cover that. And we'll cover different topics, whether it's just the introductions to workflows or how it works best for client portals, all those types of things. So you can set a reminder if you want to be a part of that. It's going to be in the live community, so you can jump in just like you're doing today. But starting the first Wednesday in February, we're going to be doing Workflow Wednesdays, and that's going to be me doing them, and Sam is also going to be doing some Workflow Wednesdays as well too. So we're super excited about that. It's going to be a great way to get information out to everybody, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, so hopefully you guys are having a great week. It's been freezing here in LA, and when I say freezing, I mean 40 degrees, and I know it's not freezing, but I'm always cold. So awesome, guys. Well, have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you again next week.